Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to Mother to Muse, the podcast where women remember who they are. I'm your host, Aviance, and this space was created for women who have spent so much of their lives being everything for everyone else: the caretaker, the problem solver, the responsible one. But somewhere along the way, many of us forgot that our lives are meant to be experienced too. Here at Mother to Muse, we talk about returning to ourselves, designing a life that feels beautiful, and stepping fully into the woman we are becoming. So, wherever you are right now, whether that's driving, cleaning, walking, or sitting quietly with yourself, take a deep breath and let's begin. Today's conversation is a little different. Today, I'm joined by someone who has shaped my life in countless ways: my mom. As mothers, we're often celebrated for everything we sacrifice, but we rarely stop to ask, who is the woman behind the title of mom? Today, we're talking about the dreams, the sacrifices, the regrets, the lessons, and the journey of returning to yourself, even after spending years pouring into everyone else. So let's begin. So, Mom, before you became a mom, who were you? Like, what were your dreams? What did you imagine your life would look like?
I imagine my life to look like a celebrity. I love to sing. I love to dance. I love to travel. I love history. I love art. So I saw myself as a free roaming spirit, able to see the world.
Okay. So, if someone met you before motherhood, how do you think they would describe you?
They would describe me as this carefree person who was very passionate, who cared about others, who was very supportive, very encouraging. They would see me as an asset to their lives.
All right. So, at what point do you think motherhood became your entire identity?
When I had my first child and having to take care of this child without mentally and financial support.
So, looking back, what part of yourself do you think you put on hold?
The part of believing in myself that I could be successful in the entertaining industry. I listened to a lot of negative feedback from my family, from my friends. It was just really a coincidence how strangers thought that I can do these things, but my family thought I couldn't. And then I bought into the vision and the version of my family. So a lot of things I put on hold because I didn't have the courage or the faith to believe in myself that I could accomplish those things.
That's pretty deep. Do you think that you put parts of yourself on hold, like in your career, your friendships, relationships?
Career-wise, I've always pursued what I wanted, so I was very successful in the career. As far as relationships, I would definitely sacrifice for my family. I would even sacrifice relationships for my friendships, ending up later on regretting some of the decisions that I made.
Okay. Do you think anyone truly prepares women for those sacrifices?
Not necessarily, because everything starts off looking good, looking supportive, looking outstanding. But in reality, as time progresses, you get to see a lot of things that you didn't see in the beginning, and a lot of time begins to be wasted on relationships that were basically taken for the taking. It was never really a deposit. It was one-sided majority of the time, me being the giver, them being the receiver.
Okay, so that leads us to the hard truth. Do you think that mothers sometimes believe that loving their children and family means putting themselves last?
It often does. I don't think it's intentional. I think it just comes out that way because we're trained to be supportive. We're trained to support one another regardless of the outcome and the effects that it might have on yourself. You would be looked upon as selfish if you didn't do these things. And so you lose yourself trying to prove that you're the ideal daughter, the ideal sister, or even the idea of friend.
That's really good. I think it is about the mask that we wear sometimes. And even in the mask that we wear, have you ever struggled with guilt when choosing yourself?
Oftentimes, it took me quite a few many years to really be okay with doing things for myself, buying things for myself, traveling to the places I want to go see, and doing the things I really want to do, decorating the way I want to decorate. It was more like I felt like I was taking from those that I love and needed to nurture and care for versus giving to myself so I can enjoy that which what I labored for.
So, I guess were there moments when you felt invisible outside of being a mom?
For the friendships that I sacrificed, a lot of times I would give up things that meant something to me just to prove that I could be that great friend. Even for my children, to be that great mother, buying things that I really couldn't afford at the moment so that they can feel respected and honored among their peers as well. So, a lot of times as a parent, you do become an invisible source, but also a source that still is required to provide, regardless of how I felt internally and regardless of the outcome externally.
So, in your relationships, probably mostly family and friend relationships, did any of those relationships make you feel invisible?
Yes, because as soon as the friends that I made those sacrifices for, once they obtained their goals and objective, I was no longer needed. I was no longer that support that they needed. They were able to move on and about and just leave me there without a connection. Went on to pursue their goals and dreams with the person that they eventually found that walked with them and supported them.
Mm. So, I can relate. And I think as I've gotten older, I realize motherhood isn't just about raising children, it's also about rediscovering yourself. So, what do you wish your children understood about you as a woman, not just as our mother?
Then I did the best that I could with what I had. And if there was somewhere, even the slightest hesitation that I loved them, then I would want them to know that I truly, truly, as a person, not just a mother, really loved my children and would do anything for my children and did with the resources, the knowledge, and the understanding that I had in what a mother really actually looked like. A lot of times children think that you favor one more than the other when all children are different and need to be catered to in various different ways. So I would just want to say that my love is equally supported based upon the personalities and characters of each one of my children.
That's an interesting take. Because I think sometimes we don't realize that it's not about you're choosing one or the other. Sometimes as a parent, you can see clearly through your child, and maybe this person needs more of a push more than the other children. So now that we're talking about children, let's return to you. If you could sit down with your younger version of yourself, what would that inner child look like? Um, and what would you tell her?
I would actually reflect back on my mother and daughter relationship. I think that I was so busy trying to prove to my mother that I could be successful. And a lot of times that kept me busy and running. And now that I'm older, what I cherished the most would have been spending more time with my mom, doing more fun things with my mom that I didn't really get to do. And realizing at the time, like I said, she was my best cheerleader. And unfortunately, it took her passing for me to realize that she had been there the whole entire time.
Okay. And what would you tell your younger self? What would you encourage her not to lose? What would choosing yourself look like today from your younger perspective?
I think from what my mom instilled in me is always to be able to push forward regardless of the situations that I found myself. So I don't think there's anything that I would change. I think that I would continue to be that person my mom saw me to be, which was carefree, trying, courageous, doing things that she desired to do within her own self. And to hear the words that she was proud of me and that she wished she could have been more like me just made me more determined to be myself.
And what would you tell your younger self? Are you proud of who you've become?
I am. Really, I am. Because like I said, career-wise, I have always pursued what I wanted and was able to get into that. But there's a part of me that still, wondered if I would have pursued more of the entertainment industry, what would I be like today? And so even just randomly singing out loud and people say you have a great voice and then you're like, but that's not what I've been told all this time. And so I would have tried more, even if it was just volunteer as a hobby or something. I would have ventured more into the arts.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So, one thing I've been learning through Mother to Muse is choosing yourself doesn't make you a bad mother. In many ways, it makes you a healthier one. Because our children deserve to know the whole woman, not just the version who consistently sacrifices herself. So, we have a Muse moment for the week. Before we close our conversation, I'd like you to pause for just a moment, take a deep breath. Now ask yourself, who was I before everyone needed something from me? Not before motherhood, not before marriage, not before work, before the expectations, before the responsibilities, before survival. Can you still see her? She's still there. She hasn't disappeared. She's simply been waiting for you to remember her. Today isn't about choosing between your family and yourself. It's about understanding that women or that woman behind the title deserves to be loved too. Because when you return to yourself, you don't love your family less. You finally learn how to love yourself alongside them. And that changes everything. Now, Mom, today I want to declare that today we choose to honor the woman we are, not just the role we've carried. We release the belief that our worth is measured by our sacrifice. We celebrate every lesson that motherhood has taught us. We forgive ourselves for the moments we believe we had to carry everything alone. We choose joy without guilt. We choose rest without shame. We choose purpose beyond our title. We honor the dreams we placed on hold, and we give ourselves permission to dream again, because we are more than what we do for other people. We are women worthy of peace, worthy of love, worthy of becoming, and today we return to ourselves. And I don't think I've ever told you this, but thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your love. Because you didn't have to, but you did. So thank you so much for what you've done as my mother. And thank you for spending time with us. If this conversation encouraged you, don't forget to download the free Mother to Muse companion journal to continue reflecting alongside each episode. So remember, wrap yourself in softness, love on yourself, and stand in your light. Until next time, that's Muse Energy.